Gentlemen, our future rests on the success of this cookie.
Yes, CW. But what do we name it?
How about Wafericious?
Twist out cookie.
I've got it! Chocolama!
What about you, Hurley?
Oreo.
Hurley, you're a genius.
Got milk?
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Call in at 800-333-0001 to ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more. Just call 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us today. My name is Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're going to be talking about appreciation for life. You know, life is one of those things where it's going to challenge us. It's going to test us. But to be able to appreciate life, to be able to be arms wide open for those lessons that we need to learn, to, really bask in the love of our friends and family, to even take a life challenge and somehow find the positive side of that, to really appreciate all the different nuances, all the different flavors and colors of life. That's what I want to focus on today. And again, we are taking your calls. It's 800-333-0001. And really, we want you to engage in this show so that you can walk away from the show going, I love my life. I love my life. We've all had those moments where we've said that, right? Usually it's after getting a great grade on a test or having a great date or just accomplishing something. You're like, I love life. I love my life. We want you to say that every day, as many times in the day as you can, because life really is meant to be appreciated, meant to be valued. And so over the course of this show, I want you to kind of think about in your life, what are you grateful for? What is working really well? Sometimes we try to fix things in the show. We try to focus on what's not working so we can get you motivated. Today, I want you to focus on what is going really well in your life. Let's focus on the positive in this show. We are going to go to the phone lines now and take one of our callers. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for calling in. How can we help you?
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Well, I was just wondering, what are some ways I could find a passion in the workforce?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because to work in any career, any job that is just kind of going through the motions, that's not fun. We've all done it, but not rewarding, right? What excites you? What is something that if you could do it for a career, you would just be so happy, so excited?
That's the thing. I mean, I'm 27, and I just don't really know where my path is leading. I don't know what I'd like to do.
Well, what do people in your life tell you that you're good at? What do people come to you for?
I find that I'm really good at, being around people. I feel like, talking with people and helping people is something that I'm good at.
Mm-hmm. And so being around people, helping people, that's great. So we know that about you, right?
Yeah.
Is there
I
ever
also really like working with children.
Okay, you like working with children. Okay.
Yeah.
And so think about a time that you were working with children that you were really successful at doing something. Can you picture that moment?
Yeah, I can.
And what is that?
Well, at one point, when I just graduated college, I was working at an after-school program, and just seeing the smiles on the kids' faces, playing games with them, and helping them with their homework, things like that was really, really good for me and nice to see with the kids.
And so, were you tutoring them? Was that kind of your role?
I was an after-school teacher, so I'd pick them up from school and give them snacks and keep them busy, play games with them, do their homework with them.
So here's what we've learned in this short time together. We know that you're a people person. We know that you love being with children, and not everybody does. Some people are meant to be with children, and others, they like them. They like them. They really like them if they're of their own. But if you love children, that's a gift. That's a talent all in itself. You're a mentor. You're a teacher. You like to get creative. You like to get silly. You like to be childlike with them. You know, all of those aspects of you want to use as a guide to where you could go career-wise. And what I would do if I were you is I would go to a career, like maybe if you have like a career counselor or a department for careers at your local university, or even doing a lot of searching online, look for all the different jobs, all the possible jobs that involve children. And then once you look at all those jobs, then look at other layers of things that you are talented at, like being a people person, being a mentor. So now what jobs involve children, that involve teaching, that involve mentorship? It's not always about being a teacher. There's so many ways in which you can get involved. You might work you might be a social worker. You might be a teacher. You might decide to start a nonprofit or join a for-profit or nonprofit that works with children. There's so many different ways that you can go. So just knowing what makes you happy, when you were telling me that story just a few minutes ago, you lit up. And you only needed a couple seconds to say, yeah, I got an example for you. So that's
true.
not
Thank you.
That's not by accident. That's by design. And so now it's for you to get really excited and say, okay, I am going to have a job where I get to work with kids every day. I don't know what that is, but I'm excited because now I'm going to go research and go explore. And then once you pinpoint different jobs that sound interesting to you, then I want you to find professionals in your local area that are doing that job. I want you to call them up, have a conversation for 30 minutes on the phone, take them to lunch, shadow them, and really get to see the ins and outs of that job. And is that something you would enjoy?
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, of course you can. and the biggest thing that you always want to keep in mind as you start to journey forward and do all your education and all things you need to do is always think about that one kid, that maybe 2 kids, 3 kids, whatever it looks like. But let's just choose one kid that you're going to make a difference in their life. Yeah. And only you have the ability to reach them.
Thank you. That's great advice.
Yeah. So I'm excited. Keep us updated on how things go.
I would love to.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you for calling in. Thank you. Bye. So what a great question, right? I mean, this is what I love about appreciating life. When we don't know which way to go, don't always look at that as like a negative. Don't always get concerned or get fearful or get anxious about the unknown. The unknown can be very beautiful. It can be very exciting. And so if anybody today is fearful of the unknown, oh my gosh, what job will I have? Will I ever find the one? Will my health ever get better? Just knowing that there's opportunity, knowing that this game of life is one that you can play full out every day and engage in, that's where it gets exciting. So I want everybody to step out there today and think about what is it that they want most in their life? What are they grateful for? We're going to go back to the phone lines. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm wonderful. Nice to hear your voice. How can we help you today?
Okay, so I'll just get right into it, I guess. So
okay.
I'm a person that's living with anxiety and, depression, and I've been living with that my whole life, and it's been kind of bad, like very specifically over the last year because I just got into college, and, that's a big life transition and change. And I applied for a really, really big job last week. Mm-hmm. And, it's kind of like my dream job at the moment, like where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And I find out about the job on Monday, and I'm super, super nervous, and I don't know how to hear the decision back without it, crushing my self-confidence and, without it being like a huge deal. Does that make sense?
It does. What is the job? What is it?
So it's I've applied to work as a resident advisor in the residence halls, which like kind of doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's basically like a very, very big honor at my university, and they pay for your room and board. Like that's how you get paid, and that's a really big deal because it would really help me out financially right now, and it would like it would just really help my current situation.
Well, so here's the thing. First of all, that sounds like a great job, and you want to do everything that you can to get it. And so, first of all, look at the fact that they chose you. They chose to interview you. That's a large part of it. So feel accomplished about that. Feel appreciated that you got that opportunity. If you haven't done it already, and it's never too late, even if it's Saturday, I'm a big fan of the thank you note, thank you emails. Okay? Thank you voicemails, whichever way you can. It's, the interview is great. They get to know you. But when somebody follows up with a thank you, wow, that just tells them even more so how much you want it. So I would definitely do that if you haven't already. And then the biggest thing that you always have to consider is, let's hope, well, we're just going to assume you're going to get this job, okay? And life will go on and you'll be happy and accomplished, and that's great. If you don't get the job, though, don't let your world crumble around you, because the thing is, it's an opportunity, but there will be other ones. There will be. It may not be this year. It may not even be that job, but there will be other opportunities for you to do a job like that. This is a kind of a tricky one because you have the financial benefit of the free room and board, so you kind of have to isolate the two. It's a perk. And so with a lot of jobs, there's going to be perks. It might be a discount if you work at a retail store. It might be travel discounts if you're traveling. So that room and board is a perk. You have to separate that from the job and not get so attached to that, because whichever way this goes, that's just a perk. Just know that you were the one that they selected for the job, that they selected to interview. And if you don't get the job, just apply again. Or figure out what was it about that job that you liked so much, and find another job like it, that kind of to feed your soul. But I really appreciate you calling in, and we'll be thinking about you between now and Monday. I'm going to be thinking about you. So thank you for calling in.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You got it, dear. Have a great day. And we'll be coming right back after this break with Brenda Combs.
Isn't this dinner party wonderful? Jeanette and Bill did so much planning, and the house looks great.
Well, it was almost canceled. Did you hear that Bill was really sick with the flu 2 weeks ago?
No, I had no idea. I've been so busy at work. But my coworker's toddler was in the hospital with flu, too. Is Bill okay?
It was pretty serious and aggravated his asthma. Bill got sick quickly with a high fever. Fortunately, Jeanette got him to the doctor right away. The doctor said it was flu and prescribed a medication that helped him get back on his feet.
I didn't know flu was so serious until I heard Bill say he felt like he'd been hit by a truck. He missed a big meeting at work.
Well, thank goodness Jeanette had gotten her flu shot. Because, she's expecting.
What? Oh, man.
I guess that was another thing you guys didn't know either.
A message from the Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi. I can't come to the phone right now because I'm abusing my children. Not just verbally, but physically. I'll get back to you.
If only child abuse was this easy to recognize. If you even suspect abuse, call Child Help at 1-800-4A-CHILD or visit childhelp.org. We've helped millions of people help millions of children. All calls are anonymous and confidential, so call 1-800-4A-CHILD or visit childhelp.org. Child Help. Trust your instincts. Brought to you by Child Help and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
In the world of fairy tales, Sleeping Beauty had 3 good fairies to protect her. But in our world, protecting the beauty of the forest is the responsibility of everyone.
Listen well, all of you.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans and can be prevented.
We'll all pitch in. If humans can do it, so can we.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Log on to SmokeyBear.com to find out what you can do. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show, and today we're talking about appreciation for life, appreciation for all the good things that come our way, despite some of the ones that do challenge us. And I want to bring to you our very special inspirational guest for today, Brenda Combs. The thing is, her story has so many twists and turns, but when you really boil it down, when it really comes to the heart of it, she is a huge heart, and she went through so many different I don't even want to call them life experiences that could have just made her say, I'm done. But she pressed forward. And so truly stick with us. Her story is kind of a long one. There's a lot going on here, but I very much like to welcome Brenda Combs. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. So nice to hear your voice. I want to go ahead and let our listeners kind of get a little bit of foundation about your life growing up. I know that you had been bullied, and that was really the predictor for your high school years, some of your college years, to why you kind of fell into the crowd that you did. But if you could just share with us briefly about that.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Essentially, I was walking home from school one day, and some girls who were older than I just started bullying me and teasing me, pushing me, throwing rocks at me. It really made me feel uncomfortable, and I was by myself. It wasn't like I had a friend or siblings with me. And I have to admit, I was probably terrified. I was scared. And they really made me feel not only uncomfortable, but I just lost all confidence in myself. And that really followed me all throughout my life, which eventually I, became a drug addict and was homeless. But all throughout junior high and high school, I did have friends, but I never felt comfortable. I never really felt like I fit in. And so my goal was to graduate from high school as soon as possible so that I could go to college, because I thought maybe that was the issue. Mm-hmm. And I did graduate from high school a year before my graduating class, and I started college at Northern Arizona University, and really found out that I was so young and immature that I didn't fit in with that crowd either. However, at some point, I did meet a group of girls who welcomed me in, and this was the party group. They welcomed me with open arms, and I found myself somewhat fitting in and being happy and feeling a part of. The biggest problem was, we were going out, we were going to the bars and the clubs, and I started drinking and smoking cigarettes. I was introduced to marijuana, and I found it difficult to party all night and then get up and go to a 7 o'clock literature class. And so I eventually dropped out of college.
Well, it's... Well, and we've all had those party times. I mean, I look back at my time at University of Oregon, and I had a few cocktails back then, but it is one of those things where you do have to manage that because you're out there for the first time on your own, and you are so susceptible to the wrong crowds picking you up. And sometimes the party crowd can cross over into the wrong crowd. Now, you were obviously starting to dibble-dabble into certain drugs, and your marijuana then become cocaine, which then led to crack. And most addicts that I've talked to, and you would probably echo this fact, you were just looking to fit in, but you were also looking for the pain, all the previous pain in your life to disappear. What did smoking crack feel like for you? Why was that so addictive for you?
You know, it was so addictive for me because from the moment I took the first hit, it literally made everything go away. You know, I had no problems in terms of dealing with life on life's terms. Smoking the crack or doing cocaine or any drug for that matter, for me, for my story, was that it just took me basically to like fantasy land. You know, so I basically didn't have to deal with my emotions, my feelings, my living situation, my relationship, my finances, my family. I didn't have to deal with any of that because my sole focus and concentration was on getting high and maintaining to continue to get high. And so the reason that it was so strong and powerful, and it's so addictive, crack is, just like heroin, a really strong addictive drug because it really consumed every part of me. All I could think about was getting the next hit or how to go about buying or obtaining the drug so that I could continue to get high. And that way, the longer that I stayed high, the longer I didn't have to deal with with life or with my situation.
Well, and you did find yourself in that vicious cycle. I mean, here you were just trying to pay the bills, but everything that you spent, you wanted to put it into more of drugs, and you even ended up working for a dealer, I believe, and so forth. But all of that really kind of crashed down around you, and you did lose it all. You were homeless and under that 7th Street Bridge. Can you share with us about hitting that moment?
Well, you know, it happened, you know, looking back on it now, it doesn't seem like it was so long, but in total, my total time frame of addiction and homelessness spanned over a decade, for 10 years. And, you know, initially I was a functioning addict where I could go to work and then, you know, get high on the weekends. Eventually I'd go to work and I would leave work and go to the dope house, and I would stay there until it was time to go to work again. Eventually I went to the dope house one day and just never left. And with that being said, of course, I lost my apartment, and eventually I lost my job, and I was living in my car. I eventually sold my car for drugs, and I ended up in Phoenix with drug dealers living underneath the 7th Avenue Bridge. And with that, I've been shot in a drive-by shooting, stabbed in the back with a broken beer bottle, burned with cigarettes. I was raped several times, beaten, overdosed. I tried to commit suicide, poisoned, and still continued to stay in that environment because I really felt like I had nowhere to turn, no options. I didn't know how and where to get help. And so I found myself in a vicious cycle. I might have a few moments of clarity where I would tell myself, you know, there's got to be a better way. You shouldn't be living like this. You have more talent and gifts, but you're not using them, Brenda. But the moment when I would say, well, you know, I think I'm going to go and try and get help or turn myself in, going in and out of jail, in and out of rehabs and halfway houses, and it just didn't work until one day, 10 years later, I wake up in an alley in Phoenix in 115-degree heat and realize someone had stolen the shoes off of my feet. And that was the day that my life changed and has never been the same.
Well, I want to pause there for a second because I want to come back to that day because that was really your wake-up call. That was really your channel into the next chapters of your life. But let's go back for a second because you brushed over so many different ways in which you were abused and some of that was abusing yourself, you know, because of that lack of confidence and the cycle that you were in. There were opportunities for you to break the cycle, to get out. And one of them, ironically, was the drive-by shooting because when you got shot, and it was in the foot or the ankle, right?
The ankle.
The ankle. When you got shot in the ankle and you were in the hospital and then you had like a year of rehab, you weren't doing drugs at that time. You were doing the drugs to take the pain away, but you weren't doing drugs. You had kind of an opportunity. And I want to ask you is when given opportunities, when given the opportunity to get clean, whether it be a gunshot that puts you in a hospital where you're away from that scene, or whether it be the opportunity to go to a halfway house, obviously it took you kind of growing up and wanting it for yourself, but what was it that kept pulling you in? Was it just the lack of confidence every time? Or was it the peer pressure? What was it that kept sucking you back in?
I believe it was the actual addiction itself. Because when I was going through recovering from my gunshot injury and having 11 operations, reconstructive surgery, plastic surgery, really all I could think about was getting back downtown Phoenix to the Zone, to the 7th Avenue Bridge, so that I could get high. Ironically, I couldn't because I wasn't able to walk, and I was not physically able to leave the hospital, and I wasn't doing any drugs other than the pain medication that was being administered to me and monitored, by the hospital. But my mindset was, as soon as I am able to walk and they release me, I'm going back down to the bridge. I had that opportunity perhaps to get counseling and to maybe leave the facility, the hospital, and go to treatment, but my mind, I wasn't ready. I just
you
wanted
weren't
to go
ready.
and get high. Yeah, I wasn't ready. And, I've been in 13 different programs in total. And the first program was no different than the 13th program. The difference was me. I finally made the decision that I was going to take suggestions and listen to those who had sobriety. Because the difference was the people that were in the program, the counselors and the mentors, they had something that I didn't have. And that was, in addition to sobriety, they appeared to me like they had peace, they had confidence, and they were happy. And I didn't have any of that. So when I finally went into the 13th program, I finally decided I'm going to do everything that they tell me to do because clearly my way has not worked.
Well, and when we come back after this break, Brenda, I want to focus more on your way, that mindset that you had. And I want to go back to the day that your shoes were stolen because, again, that was really what propelled you to say, I've had it, I'm done. So everybody stay with us. Brenda, hang on. We'll be right back after this message.
Hi, professional skateboarder Tony Hawk here with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck to remind you to get moving every day.
Because when you get moving an hour a day,
you'll have the energy to skate through anything.
Nice play on words, Doc.
That's how I roll, Bugs. So whether you like to work the half pipe,
now that's catching air,
kick the soccer ball around, or dance in your room,
just move it your way.
For an hour a day.
The way you like to move, as long as you're moving.
Carve out some time every day and get active. Because it's time to do a 180 on what you think exercise is.
Because it can be whatever you want it to be. So be a player.
Be a player.
Get up and play an hour a day, Doc. Check out how to be a player at letsmove.gov.
Head online to get tips on great ways to get moving every day.
At www.letsmove.gov. Let's hear that one more time, Doc. That's www.letsmove.gov. A message from the Ad Council and HHS.
I want to change some things. I want the moms where I live to have childcare they can trust.
I want to make sure my little brother and his friends have a safe place to play.
I want to help more kids graduate from high school.
Help more hardworking families learn how to budget and save.
I want more of my neighbors to have access to health care.
Want to make a difference? There are so many ways you can. Help create opportunities for everyone in your community.
I want to change what I see around here.
United Way is creating real, lasting change where you live by focusing on the building blocks of a better life: education, income, and health.
I just want to see more smiles on my sidewalks.
Reach out a hand to one and influence the condition of all. Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. For more, visit United Way at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a trusted life coach, Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and we are talking today about appreciating the aspects in our life, all the ups, the downs, you name it. And we're right now engaged in a conversation with Brenda Combs. Brenda, welcome back to the show.
Hi.
Hi. So, Brenda, you were sharing with us in the last segment, everything that you've gone through in terms of the initial bullying, when you were younger, to, falling into the wrong crowd, the crack that you became addicted to, the abuse, and when I hear that story, first of all, I think of how courageous you are today to be able to share that. And I can tell that, after that 13th program, there was a shift for you, that you did appreciate your life. But I'm just curious, so many of our listeners might be going through an addiction of their own. Some people are addicted to food. For some, it's drugs. For some, it's love or sex or whatever. How does someone stop that addiction? How does someone really reach inside to their inner soul and pull themselves out? I mean, it took you a decade, took you 13 programs, but for somebody listening today who's who feels your situation, who identifies their story, how do they tap into themselves?
I think for me, well, not just for me, my opinion is it's always going to come down to a person finally being ready. I know that in my very first program, they told me that I wasn't ready because they could tell that I had not reached my personal bottom, and they were correct. And you would think being shot in a drive-by shooting would have been a personal bottom, but it wasn't for me. And what I have found is that when a person is ready to be open-minded, to be willing to be quiet and listen and take suggestions from those who are leading the way, in the big book, it does say, rarely have we seen a person fail who thoroughly follows the path. And to me, that means the path that has been laid down, the path that has been dug, the path of the roadway that has been walked on, ran over, and paved by other people who have been through either the same or similar situations, but they are leading the way to peace, happiness, recovery, and sobriety. And so I believe that it really does come down to an individual making the decision that, this is it. This is my bottom. This is all that I can handle. And then being willing to actually put in the work, because most of us put in so much work to obtain our drugs or our alcohol or gambling or whatever the case may be. You have to also have the same type of determination and willingness to put forth on making life better. And sometimes that means not talking, not thinking, but actually listening and doing what is suggested. So if the suggestion is make amends or go to a meeting or get counseling or be in an inpatient facility, whatever the suggestions are, when you are really ready to take that first step of just admitting that I'm powerless and I can no longer control my life, to me, I believe that is the first step. And for me, it took me 10 years to reach the first step because someone stole my shoes.
Well, and that's some great advice. And I'm just curious, too, obviously, when going through all that you have and the addictions, what are some of the triggers that you have had over the years? And what are some of the triggers that you even have today that you have to protect yourself when those pop up?
Well, I have been clean now over 20 years, so I can say personally I don't have any triggers today. But initially, when I first entered into being clean and sober, into recovery and sobriety. For me, triggers could be anything as a commercial on TV, a song on the radio, passing a certain street, driving through a certain neighborhood. Ironically, eating certain food would be a trigger for me. And for me, it would take me back to where I had been in addiction. But it reminded me of where I had been, but also reminded me of where I didn't want to go back to. And I used the tools and the resources that I learned in the program through my counseling and through working on Brenda to not give in. Because for some, sometimes it was one moment, 1 second at a time. For some people, 1 day at a time is too long. They can't process 24 hours, but they can get through 10 seconds at a time. And so you have to basically take it, with what works best for you. So for me, sometimes it was avoiding certain streets, not going down certain freeways where it would remind me of an incident of either some traumatic or some violent act that happened to me, or just staying away from certain neighborhoods altogether because I knew that I was not strong enough, to be in that area. But eventually, by working the program, working the steps, and being rigorously honest with myself, I believe that those were some of the key steps that got me through those hard times. Because temptation is going to come.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love that. Really, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned working on Brenda, because I feel like I'm working on Nancy daily. It's really a lifetime journey that we have with ourselves to continually be the best version of ourselves that we can be. And
I totally agree. Even after 20 years of being clean, I still take self-inventory of myself daily just to make sure that I'm making the right choice and doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Keep me focused and to keep me on track.
When you look back at your journey, when you look back at all the addiction and all the abuse and everything, what are you most appreciative for in terms of perhaps one of the events that happened that kind of got you back on track?
Wow, that's a difficult question. I would have to say one of the things I think that I'm most appreciative of is forgiveness, because I had to learn how to forgive Brenda first and foremost before I could forgive others. And by being able to forgive myself, it gave me the ability to love myself. Therefore, I could love others. And, that is really something that's, within. It's internal, so it's something that you have to work on. You can't, necessarily, take a pill and read a book about it. It's something that I had to work on within, and that was learning to forgive and to love.
Wow. Everybody listening today, that is such great advice. I mean, a lot of times when we're trying to forgive ourselves, we have that gulp in our throat, that tightness in our throat, the tightness in our chest, and that's when we need to be the most honest, and so that was perfect advice. And for those who are listening who are watching a loved one who's struggling with an addiction of some kind, how could they be more supportive? How could your family or friends have been more supportive? Or does that person just have to hit rock bottom, and is there nothing you can do?
I think with all families, at least in my situation, I think my family initially did what most people do, is they try to be encouraging and supportive. My parents put me in rehab. They talked to me. They prayed for me, over me, with me. They would pick me up. They feed me. They clothe me, let me come home, take a shower. They helped me pay bills. They did all of the things that they thought were the right things to do. And eventually they came to realize that they were just enabling me. And this is just my case. So eventually they practiced tough love. They initially just took their hands off and let me hit my rock bottom. And once I hit my bottom and I was able to get my life, back on track and was living a life of recovery and sobriety and making good choices, My family was right there cheering me on, and I have a great relationship with my family today. I would actually say a better relationship prior to me going into addiction. I have a solid relationship with my parents and my siblings, and I think, because of what I went through has made our bond and our relationship stronger.
Having gone through addiction, what is advice that you could give those of us listening, kind of the insight of an addict, that scream for help, that I just want to fit in, that I've lost all my confidence, all the reasons for why you did crack and just wanted to find that escape. What is it that we should know about the person who's in addiction?
Well, the one thing that I can say about the person in addiction is that they don't want to be in addiction. No one actually is, their lifelong goal and dream is to be an addict. The whole time that I was in addiction, I had some moments that, were not bad, but in the big picture, I was not happy. I was in survival and struggle mode 99.9% of the time. There were a few moments where the times that I had when I was out under the bridge were not bad, but emotionally, I never wanted to be in that position. I didn't want to be a drug addict. I didn't like myself. I didn't like the way I looked, the way I smelled, the way that I dressed. I wasn't able to take care of myself, take a shower, brush my teeth. I felt bad about myself. So even though I continued to get high, it wasn't because I was enjoying it. It was because the getting high, again, took away my mindset of dealing with life on life's terms. I didn't have to think about the fact that I hadn't taken a shower in 3 weeks. I was still wearing the same clothes. I smelled bad. I looked bad. And I felt bad emotionally, physically, spiritually, psychologically. I felt bad about myself, which is why it's not uncommon for people in addiction of some sort to also want to look at suicide, which is something that I tried. It just didn't work.
Hey, Brenda. Well, I'm glad it didn't work, but I just want to say thank you for being a part of our show. We're kind of at the end of the segment here, but you are such a light in this world, and thank you for sharing your story with us and being a part of the show today.
Thank you for having me, and I just want to tell your listeners that nothing is impossible. I went from being a homeless drug addict for 10 years, living underneath the 7th Avenue Bridge, to today being Dr. Brenda Combs.
Well, thank you again, Brenda, for being a part of the show, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
You remember that ball game we went to a couple years ago?
Sure.
And how you didn't have enough cash for 2 hot dogs, so you walked with me on your shoulders until we found an ATM? And then when we got back to our seats, we never saw the hot dog guy again.
Well, I don't remember all that.
Yeah, that was an awesome game.
You never know which moments will be the ones they'll remember forever, so take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 1-877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Medical mistakes claim tens of thousands of lives every year. The healthcare community is working on it, but you can help. When you communicate with your doctor, when you ask more questions, you reduce your risk of suffering a medical mistake. Doctors can't answer if you don't ask. Help reduce your risk. Questions are the answer. Learn the 10 questions you must ask. Visit www.ahrq.gov. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, and the Ad Council.
I'm getting a catcher's mitt.
I'm getting ice skates. I'm getting a devastating flood.
Adults are generous. We're even giving kids global warming, but we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
There are many sounds in your daily life. Ones that make you smile. Ones that help you relax. And there are some sounds that can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you critical information about emergencies in your area. With updates from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is President Barack Obama. In the story of America, the greatest chapters are moments of challenge, when we see people serving their country and one another. Volunteers who step forward into hospital corridors and church basements, along levees and fire lines. And the next chapter is yours to help write. Sign up to volunteer at usaservice.org. That's usaservice.org. Let's renew America together.
A message from Renew America Together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
To listen to her interview again, just go to livingfullout.com. We will have today's show up there, as well as all of our shows, and that's a way that you can listen live each week at 11 o'clock Pacific time. You know, here's the thing. Living Full Out is a journey, okay? It's finding all the different aspects of your life that you want to continue to work on, continue to grow and get better at. It's not something that happens overnight. And when you fall, when you do hit rock bottom, when you trip up, whatever you want to call it, that's okay. It's how you get up. It's how you brush off what went wrong. It's how you talk about yourself. Those are all the things that will allow you to get to the other side, to get to the side that is more positive, the side that is more healthy. And when you are able to get to that healthy spot, really enjoy that. You know, I get so many clients who call me and they're constantly looking for what's not working. And sometimes you just have to really evaluate what is working. What am I grateful for? What am I so lucky to have? When we look at all the people in our life that come and go, they pass away or they move away or sometimes relationships just fall apart. You want to really evaluate and appreciate those relationships that you do have in your life. think about your health. You know, when I think about my eyes being legally blind, well, they're nothing I would write home about. I wouldn't necessarily want to donate my eyes to anybody, but I know that I have a good heart. I know that I have a good mind. And so you want to look at your own being. You want to look at what you have to offer. What makes you special? Why are people drawn to you? And be appreciative for that. There's always going to be things that we want to fix, things that we want to get better at, things that we might even consider as flaws, although there's the saying that there's beauty in the flaws, which I do believe is true. So it's just about assessing and honestly looking at yourself and saying, wow, I'm grateful for X, Y, and Z. I'm proud of who I am, and having that moment. We're going to go back to the phone lines now. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for calling in. How can we help you?
My sister is 24 and alcoholic, I guess, or becoming one, maybe, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just wondering, any help for that? I don't know, like to talk to her maybe, get her back on track.
Yeah, thank you for calling in, and I hope that you were able to hear our last caller because we were talking a lot about addiction just recently here. But I guess one of the questions I have for you is, how is your current relationship with your sister? Do
we're
you
really
see
close.
her? You're really close. Okay.
Yeah.
And have you had a conversation with her about her drinking?
No.
Okay. What holds you back from having that conversation?
Not really sure. Just, I guess, the confrontation maybe. I don't know.
Okay. You love your sister, right? And you want her to be healthy and happy. One of the things that I've learned in life myself, and this can be applied towards a lot of situations, you just want to never have regrets in life, meaning that you can't control your sister's actions, but you definitely want to let her know that you love her.
Yeah.
And let her know that you're here to support her. But I think sometimes we have to hold people accountable as well. If you know that, or you see her going down a path that is not going in the right direction, and in fact maybe she's putting herself in unhealthy situations or even dangerous situations, if she might be drinking and driving or any of that, you want to step up as her brother and say, I love you so much that I have to have this conversation with you because I don't want something to happen to you and for me to have not had that conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And so you know your sister best. If you were to have this conversation with her, what would be the best environment? Would it be best over the phone, better in person?
In person.
In person, okay. And is there a time today, tomorrow, next week that you can envision maybe spending some quality time with her? Is there a place that the two of you could go to have this conversation?
Yeah.
Where would that be? Where would you go?
In her house, I guess.
In your house? Okay.
In her house,
in her house? Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason why we're planning this out, you and I right now, is because you want to make sure it's going to be in an area where you will not be interrupted. You want your sister to be safe. You want her to feel like if she wants to cry, if she wants to yell, whatever, that she's in a safe place and that it's just you and her. Because sometimes when we know that things are not right in our life, sometimes we're ashamed and we're scared and we don't always want to come clean because we don't want other people to hear us. You don't want to get interrupted because how awful would that be for that moment, right?
Yeah.
So just make sure you pick a spot where it can just be you and her. And when you're going to have this conversation, is there a particular moment recently that stands out to you where you felt like her drinking was out of hand?
I guess when she came back from she does nightclubs every weekend. I don't know. Maybe she came back. She got passed out drunk. Maybe recently.
And when you saw her passed out drunk, how did that make you feel?
Bad, obviously. Yeah.
Bad. How so?
So I don't really know what to do. It's her. I feel bad for her. I don't know the situation that she's in, I guess.
Yeah. And the reason I'm asking you these questions is you just kind of want to get really clear on that one moment. And maybe there's even another moment you might think about. Because when you're having a conversation with somebody, it might be, see, she doesn't remember that moment, but you can explain to her, because she was passed out, obviously, but you can explain to her how it made you feel, how you just, you didn't want her to wake up hungover, you didn't want her to get sick, or, it's scary when somebody passes out too, because they're out of it, right? You want them to wake up. You don't want them to be passed out. I mean, that doesn't make you feel good. So if you can also think of an example of a time where she might have been alert, where she might have recognized herself getting out of hand, just have a couple of these examples, because I have no doubt that you're going to come at her with love and support. But what you want to do is come with a couple of examples, ideally one that she might even be able to remember, that you guys can discuss. And the one that you just mentioned to me about when she was passed out, I think that's actually a tender moment, and that's a good one to bring up too, because that is scary. If I see somebody passed out on the ground, I hate to say this, but you just hope they wake up. You never know, right? Maybe they overdrink and they won't wake up. So So you're on the right track. I'm sorry that you're going through this, but the great thing is that she has a brother like you. And what you want to do is have that conversation sooner than later, because, again, we only have today. We only have here and now. And you don't want something to happen where you wished you had had that conversation sooner.
That's true.
Okay? And the last thing is, don't ever give up on her. She might push back. She might be angry. She might be like, you're ridiculous. But don't give up. Don't give up on her. Stay consistent with pointing these things out to her. Okay?
All right.
Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What a great brother. Who doesn't want a brother like that? Calling into the show, wanting his sister to be healthy and happy, and obviously not turning to alcohol for, any problems she might be having. And as Brenda Combs, our inspirational guest, pointed out, sometimes it's not always trying to fix a problem. Sometimes we just find ourselves in party mode or hanging out with the wrong people. Given the fact that we have this gift of life, you want to appreciate it. You want to value that. And to value your life means that you want to set yourself up to be successful. So again, it may be that you'll want to be at a healthy weight. Well, then you want to do things to get yourself on a healthy path to getting to the weight you want to be. If you want to have a healthy relationship, you want to surround yourself with people that can introduce you to those right partners. You want to, be in environments where you can meet the right people. If you're looking to expand yourself and into a career that would make you happy and allow you to thrive and with all your natural talents, then again, you want to be persistent and determined in getting that job. What I love about my job, what I love about life coaching, what I love about this show is that we're all going to have these moments where we're going to stumble. We are going to have those crossroads, but we do have the ability to get ourselves on track. Brenda Combs, our inspirational guest, she got her life back on track. It took her 10 years, but she got there. Now she's sober for 20. When we think about our guests earlier in the show, our callers, both of them looking for direction, looking for what's going to make them happy. The fact that they called into the show, the fact that they have options, to me, that's the first step, and then to put an action into play. And so think about where you are in your life. Think about what's working, what's really precious, what's really good. And I want you to just bask in that all day today. Put the worries aside, put the fears aside, put the to-do list aside. Call up somebody today that you can share your love for your life with. And if you're having one of those days where you're not feeling the love, life is just not doing it for you, well then, I want you to call a friend. I want you to re-listen to this show or other shows, because we're all going to have those bad days. And it's just about getting through it, because tomorrow is going to be a brighter, better day, I promise you. Thank you to our entire Living Full Out team who puts the show together. I also want to give you our website again. It's livingfullout.com. And make sure to connect with us at connect@livingfullout.com if you have a motivational story that you'd like to share or how you were touched by today's show. Thank you again, and here's to you living your life full out.